Welcome to the Minute of Terror channel. Leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment where you are watching this video from. It was 2 in the morning, and the silence of the night was broken by a faint buzz from my phone on the nightstand. I rubbed my eyes, still half asleep, and grabbed it. A notification from the security app glowed on the screen. Motion detected at the front door. My mind was foggy, but curiosity got the better of me. I tapped open the camera feed, expecting maybe a stray cat or a branch swaying in the wind. Instead, the black and white image showed a figure, a man in a hooded jacket, standing still, staring directly into the lens. The sight jolted me awake. I fumbled with the phone, closing the app, convincing myself it was a glitch or a trick of the light. But the phone buzzed again almost instantly. I hesitated, then opened the app once more. The figure was closer now, his face nearly pressed against the camera, the hood casting a shadow over his features. I got out of bed, hands shaking as I moved to the window. I peeked through the blinds, scanning the street below. Nothing, just the empty glow of streetlights and the occasional rustle of leaves. The silence felt eerie, but I told myself it was no big deal. Yet, another buzz. I glanced back at the phone, palms sweaty. The feed showed him on the porch now, just feet from the door. His silhouette was unmistakable, standing there like he knew I was watching. I froze for a moment, unsure what to do. I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath, trying to get a grip. The phone buzzed again, and this time the image took my breath away. He was inside. The living room camera caught him behind the couch, his back to the lens, motionless. A creak in the floorboards echoed through the house. I spun around, expecting to see him, but the bedroom was empty. The silence that followed felt heavy, pressing in on me. I grabbed a flashlight from the drawer, my movements quick but deliberate, and stepped into the hallway. Another step, heavier this time, came from the living room. I crept toward the corner, peeking around. Just shadows. My mind raced with possibilities. A break-in, a mistake, anything to explain it. Then, suddenly, the sound of sirens cut through the night. Red and blue lights flashed through the windows, casting jagged patterns on the walls. Relief flooded me as I heard the front door being forced open. Heavy boots stormed in, followed by sharp commands. Hands up! Get down! The police had arrived. I stayed back, watching from the hallway as 2 officers wrestled a struggling figure to the ground. It was a hooded man, his head falling back to reveal a scruffy face and wild eyes. They cuffed him, and an officer approached me, asking if I was okay. I nodded, still processing. They explained he was a fugitive, on the run for weeks, and my security system had triggered an alert linked to the neighbor's camera network. I learned the elderly woman next door, Mrs. Delgado, had recently upgraded her system, and her alarm had notified the police at the same time as mine. That double alert brought them so fast. The officer took my statement while they secured the scene. I found out the guy had been targeting homes in the area, slipping in quietly. My camera footage, combined with the neighbors, gave the police enough to track him. They found tools on him. Lockpicks, a small screwdriver, proof he was planning more than a casual visit. The police thanked me for the evidence, saying it could help close other cases tied to him. I stood there, watching as they let him out head bowed, while the adrenaline slowly faded. Later that morning, after the police left and the house was quiet again, I sat with a cup of coffee, replaying the night in my head. Mrs. Delgado stopped by to check on me. She was a small woman with sharp eyes, and she admitted she'd also heard odd noises lately. Her camera had caught him lurking by the back fence days earlier, but she hadn't thought much of it until the alarm went off. We talked for a while, sharing the relief of being safe. She brought over a plate of cookies, a small gesture that brought some calm after chaos. In the days that followed, I couldn't shake the image of that open door, the darkness inside. I double-checked the locks before bed, added an extra deadbolt, and kept the security app running 24/7. The police called once more to confirm the footage was with their tech team, and I started to feel the weight lift. Mrs. Delgado and I grew closer, chatting over the fence about her garden and my new job. Life settled back into a routine, but the experience left its mark. I glanced at the wall we shared sometimes, half expecting to hear those scratches again, though they never came. Weeks later, I got a letter from the police department. The fugitive had been linked to multiple break-ins across the city, and my footage helped secure his conviction. They included a thank you note, which I framed and hung in the kitchen, a reminder that night, but also of how close calls can turn into something good. Mrs. Delgado saw it on her next visit and smiled, saying we made a good team. I laughed, agreeing, and we planned to upgrade our security together. The neighborhood felt a bit safer, and I felt a bit more home, even with the memory of that dark figure still lingering in my mind. It was a quiet Friday night, the kind of stillness that settles over a house when everyone's gone or fast asleep. I was alone, a rare moment of solitude I'd been savoring since moving into this old house the week before. Built in the 1950s with thick concrete walls and creaky wooden windows that groaned in the slightest breeze, the place felt like the perfect backdrop for what I had in mind. I've been planning this vlog for weeks. My first stab at something spooky, a Halloween-themed walkthrough blending my love for videos with the house's unique vibe. The camera was set up on a tripod in the living room, its red light blinking as I adjusted the angle, rehearsing my lines with a nervous grin. Welcome to my haunted house vlog. I started, leaning into the lens, trying to sound confident despite my slightly shaky voice. The place was old, with uneven floors that seemed to carry echoes of decades and windows that let in chilly drafts, but I figured that only added to the atmosphere. I turned off most of the downstairs lights, leaving the soft glow of a few candles to light the walls, casting dancing shadows for a creepy effect. My phone sat on the table, its recording app open, ready to capture extras. It was just past midnight, and I was getting into the groove of narrating, describing the setting when the first odd sound broke my focus. It was faint at first, a soft tap, like something small dropping upstairs, maybe a pencil or a coin. I paused, tilted my head to listen, trying to pinpoint it. I chalked it up to the house settling, common in old builds, or a branch scraping the roof in the rising wind. The mic picked it up, a subtle scratch I thought I could use for effect in the video. I kept going, talking about the history I'd researched. Built in the 50s, supposedly home to a reclusive guy who lived alone until his death. But the sound came back, louder, with quick taps and a deeper scrape. I stopped, the camera still rolling, and listened. It was coming from the second floor, where the bedrooms and an untouched storage room were. I glanced at the dark staircase, hesitating, but decided to lean into it for the vlog. Sounds like we got some activity, I said, forcing a chuckle. I grabbed the tripod and headed up, the lens shaking as I narrated my investigation. The floorboards creaked and shadows danced ahead. Upstairs, the noises grew clearer, a rhythmic scratching, like nails on wood, with soft thuds. My hands tightened on the tripod, the camera wobbling. I reached the second-floor hallway, narrow, with closed doors and stale air. I panned the camera, whispering about the storage room, always locked. The sound was louder, coming from there. I stepped carefully, the camera catching peeling wallpaper and floating dust. Then I saw it. The door was ajar. I'd checked it earlier, locked, and I lived alone. The darkness inside was thick. A loud thud came from within, followed by a heavy scrape. This wasn't the plan, I muttered, inching closer. I pushed the door, which creaked, revealing boxes and a fallen shelf. A shadow moved near the open window, its latch undone. I stumbled, the camera catching something retreating before the light cut out. I switched to my phone's flashlight, But the shadow was gone. The latch swung, and it hit me. Someone had been here. Another thud came from the shelf, and I bolted, locking the door behind me. Downstairs, I reviewed the footage. Scratches, thuds, and a faint whisper. I called the police, who arrived in 20 minutes. I showed them the room, and they found a muddy footprint and the open window. They suspected a break-in, but found no one. I mentioned the nosy neighbor, who denied knowing anything. They left me a case number. The next day, I zoomed in on the shadow in the video, human, lanky. I posted it online as Haunted House Gone Wrong. A comment suggested a local thief. The police confirmed, and a week later, caught the suspect with my footage and a neighbor's camera. The window was his entry point. I locked the storage room with a new latch, turned the vlog into a Surviving the Night series, and got more vigilant, teaming up with a neighbor, turning fear into resolve. It was a stifling Wednesday night. The silence of my small apartment broken only by the relentless ticking of the kitchen clock, like a distant echo of something about to unfold. My name is Clara, and at 78, I've lived in this old apartment for over 40 years. Its cracked walls and creaky floorboards holding shadows of a past that never lets me rest. Today, June 18th, 2025, it was past 3:10 p.m., and the daylight was fading into a thick darkness, as if something sinister was closing in. My grandson Pedro was coming tomorrow, and I'd spent the day cleaning, dusting off shelves, and preparing a potified Joda, the smell of meat mixing with a heavy, stifling air. The windows, locked against June's chilly wind, rattled faintly, and I turned on the lamp beside me, its dim glow struggling against the lengthening shadows in the room. I was knitting, the needles clicking in a rhythm that felt like a summons, when the street outside went unnaturally quiet, the hum of traffic vanishing as if the world had been swallowed. I expected nothing but a restless night, yet a sense of unease clung to me. Around 9 p.m., a sound tore through the silence, a low scrape, like nails clawing at rotted wood, coming from the living room. I stopped, eyes fixed on the dark, trying to place it. I thought of the neighbor's cat, which sometimes sneaks in if I leave a window open, but everything was shut tight. I brushed it off, returning to my knitting, but then came a dull thud, followed by a sharp crack, like glass shattering into invisible pieces. I dropped the needles, hands hesitating, and stood, the floor groaning under me. The living room was shrouded in shadows, the hallway light barely reaching, and as I approached, I saw the front door ajar, as if unseen hands had forced it. My stomach twisted. I always lock it twice, a decades-long habit of living alone. Before I could react, two figures emerged from the darkness. Young, hooded, their faces hidden under dark hoods that seemed to swallow the light. One carried a bulging backpack, the other a flashlight, its beam trembling as it lit their stealthy steps. They froze when they saw me, and I stood rooted, the air thick with menace. The taller one, a woman whose silhouette seemed warped, made a quick gesture to the man, muttering something that sounded like a hiss. They'd already violated my space. The silver candlesticks from the fireplace were gone, swallowed by shadows, and my late husband's watch drawer gaped open, empty as if devoured. "Who are you?" I demanded, voice sharp, but they ignored me, eyes glinting under their hoods. The man stepped forward, his presence like a wall closing in, and I backed into the hallway, clutching the phone with shaky fingers. Before I could dial, the woman hissed again, and they began stuffing the backpack, my mother's jewelry box, a vase that shuddered as it was yanked free. I shouted for them to stop, but they moved like phantoms, swift and silent. I thought of Pedro's baseball bat hidden behind the couch, but before I could reach it, they bolted for the door. I followed, my steps echoing like drums, and then I heard a key turn. Pedro's voice cut through the air. "Grandma, I'm here early." The door flew open, revealing Pedro, 22, sturdy from construction work, dropping his bag with a yell as he saw the intruders. "What's going on here?" he roared, lunging at the man. The pair panicked, the woman dropping the vase, its glass exploding like a scream on the floor, while Pedro tackled the man with a punch that echoed. I grabbed the phone and dialed 911, describing the break-in with a trembling voice, eyes glued to the struggle. The woman yanked her partner free, but Pedro held firm, fists clenched. For a moment, I thought he'd overpower them, but the man broke loose, landing a blow to Pedro's ribs. The woman slammed the door open, and they fled, vanishing down the stairs like ghosts, leaving only the echo of their steps. Pedro groaned, clutching his side, and I rushed him, phone still in hand, as the operator promised help. We waited in the living room, the vase's shards scattered like broken bones, the open drawer a dark hole in memory. Pedro paced, checking windows, his face taut. The police arrived in 10 minutes, 2 officers with flashlights cutting through the dark, asking for details. I showed them the empty spots, the shattered glass, and they collected prints, but I realized too late the thieves wore gloves. Pedro described the fight, showing a scratch, and the officers took notes. They searched the building, knocked on doors, but the pair was gone. One officer suggested they were amateurs, spooked by Pedro, explaining their hasty escape. They left a case number, recommended new locks, and promised patrols. The next morning, I sipped coffee with Pedro, the feijoada untouched in the pot, a bitter smell lingering. He slept on the couch, keeping watch, and admitted he'd come early to surprise me, not expecting chaos. I saw a bruise on his cheek, which he brushed off, just glad I was okay. We listed the stolen items, candlesticks, watch, jewelry box, and I felt a sharp pang of loss, though nothing irreplaceable. Pedro suggested a security camera, and we went to the store, his resolve warming me. The police called, reporting a similar break-in nearby, my description matching. They were hopeful but had no arrests. In the days that followed, the apartment fell haunted, empty yet guarded by the new camera's blinking light. Pedro visited more, brought friends to reinforce the door, and we turned the night into a family story. The loss stung, but our bond grew, his courage a beacon. I kept the vase's shards, a grim trophy, and though the thieves remain at large, I felt a new strength bolstered by Pedro and the upgraded security. My old apartment, with its creaks, became a fortress of resilience.